When you buy plushes, chances are most of the time you buy them in stores. You go to your local store or shop online and exchange a set amount of money for a plush. However, there is another very popular market for plushes outside of that being plushes at amusement parks. I'm sure everyone watching this video has their own personal experiences of going to an arcade or carnival and finding plushes and trying to win them. One company that specializes in amusement park plushes is a company known as Kellytoy. They're an American toy company that primarily focuses on bringing affordable plushes to amusement parks. Kellytoy is a very well-known company because of the amount of licenses they've managed to acquire over the years. Their lineup of plushes consists of many popular franchises ranging from Dragon Ball Z to the Powerpuff Girls to Family Guy. They've been all over the place. They've also made plushes for a number of video game franchises such as Sonic, Crash Bandicoot, and what we'll be talking about today, Mario. Yes, the Kellytoy Mario plush line. Officially known as the Nintendo line even though it only features Mario characters, this line was a landmark in Mario plush history as it was one of the first popularized amusement park Mario plush sets. It's garnered quite a reputation over the years for being highly inaccurate yet oddly charming. In this video, I'll be documenting and analyzing this now classic plush set, telling you guys their pros, their many cons, and basically everything there is to know about them. With that said, welcome to a look back at the Kellytoy Nintendo plush set. This set, first released into amusement parks in 2001, has become well known as one of the strangest Mario plush sets of all time. This is due to how the plushes themselves look. They're very off-looking compared to the characters we know today, but maybe that adds to their charm. The set contains only 4 characters: Mario, Donkey Kong, Wario, and Luigi. Even though the set has only 4 unique characters, that doesn't necessarily mean Kellytoy only released 4 plushes to this set. One common feature of amusement park prize plushes is for them to come in many sizes. The idea is that the smaller plushes would be lesser prizes and would be easier to win, while the larger plushes would be more and more difficult to win as the size increases. Kellytoy is no stranger to this concept, and with their Nintendo line they release the characters in many different sizes. What's interesting, and a little bit confusing though, is that the sizes seem to not be entirely universal throughout the entire set. For example, only Mario and Donkey Kong seem to have been made in the 7-inch plush scale, with the smallest size for Luigi and Wario apparently being 9 inches. Then again, this catalog claims an 8-inch Luigi exists. However, this could just be a mistake and they meant to say 9 inches. Besides that though, it seems for the most part the rest of the sizes were actually universal. Another thing that's important to point out is that the 4 plushes didn't all come out at once. The line started in 2001, however only Mario and Donkey Kong came out then. Wario and Luigi didn't come out until a few years later. The set would continue to be produced by Kellytoy years after they initially came out, staying in Kellytoy's official catalogs up until around 2007. This meant that well into the early 2010s, you could still find the plushes in arcades. I'm still seeing accounts of people finding them to this day in arcades that just simply haven't gotten rid of them yet. See, arcade plushes are ordered by the amusement parks in bulk, so it takes a pretty decent amount of time for that stock to run out. This means that many arcades had these plushes for a long time, so many people have memories of finding, winning, or at least seeing these plushes. They even made their way to retail stores such as GameStop in the mid-2000s. They were simply available everywhere for years, so many people have connections with these plushes. Anyway, enough about the backstory of these. I'll return to these topics towards the end of the video, but for now, let's actually take a look at them, starting with Mario. Here's the Mario in the set. Remember when I said these plushes looked off? Yeah, I wasn't joking. And this Mario is probably the plush in the set that looks the most accurate. Where do I even start with this guy? Yeah, sure, it's Mario. He's got the hat, he's got the overalls, but man, does he look strange. Well, he does at first, but then you realize something. One thing I don't think many people realize about this set is that at this point, they're pretty old. This Mario was designed somewhere between the years 2000 and 2001, meaning he's based off of what was the popular conception of Mario at that time. And during the late 90s to early 2000s, the most recognizable Mario was the one from the Nintendo 64 era. And actually, Kellytoy often associated this set with the N64, as its logo was often used on promotional material for the set. These plushes are truly products of their time, and when you compare them to the artwork of that era, while they don't look too much like the artwork, you can start to see the resemblance. And here, compare the in-game model of Mario in Mario 64 to the Kellytoy Mario. They totally based the plush off of it, and when you realize that, he's not actually that bad. I know it's pretty cliche to say, but the Mario is probably my favorite in the set. I really like how he captures the look of Mario 64 Mario, even if it doesn't do it perfectly. I love it when merchandise references specific games or concepts, and this plush does that very well. Even though the Mario doesn't look like the Mario we know today, it doesn't matter because there was no way he was going to. I'll be looking at these plushes through the context of the time they were released in. With that said, how is this plush actually? The first thing you'll notice is Mario's face. It's something. Mario's head shape is very round and doesn't have any definition like it should. There is something important to remember about both this Mario and the rest of the set. These are arcade prizes. They're cheap. They were highly mass-produced with little to no quality control. That means many of these plushes look really bad, but some of them do look pretty good. The praises or faults I give to the plush that I'm looking at may or may not apply to all of them, as they can vastly range in quality. Mario's eyes and eyebrows are represented by pieces of overlay, which makes them smooth and look good, but they can warp, fade, and crack over time if not maintained well. The eyes are another place where the lack of quality control on this plush shows, as many plushes have their eyes misaligned and badly placed. Mario's eyes do have the correct blue color here, but that wasn't always the case. The first release of this plush actually depicted Mario with completely blacked out eyes. This is very odd, as even by the time of the Nintendo 64 era, it was well established that Mario had blue eyes. So I'm not sure how a mistake like this happened in the first place, and how it got past Nintendo is an even bigger mystery. In any case, Kellytoy quickly corrected this mistake, and by 2002, the Mario plush was released with blue eyes. However, this does mean that the original Mario was produced in much fewer quantities, so it is harder to track down the original release. Mario's nose is nice and round. Sometimes it is poorly attached to the plush, but most of the time it's fine. His mustache is pretty solid for the most part. Again, sometimes it can be tilted or misaligned, but when it's attached correctly, it looks pretty good and has the grooves Mario's mustache should have. Mario's ears are actually pretty detailed. His hair is also nice looking, but it doesn't look quite as defined as it should be. And also, I'm not sure if it's the lighting or something, but on some plushes, his hair appears to be more of an orangey color than it should be. And also, it seems to detach from the plush easily, so watch out for that. Mario's hat is pretty well done. It even captures the correct shape of the hat, with stitching holding down the backside of it. The M emblem on his hat is once again the overlay material, so again, it can get damaged over time, but in good condition, it looks nice. Mario's body, while somewhat bulkier than it probably should be, looks fine. His arms and legs are decently proportioned, if not a bit short. His gloves are really good as their cuffs are there, all of Mario's fingers are detailed, and his gloves have the 3 circles that they should. Mario's overalls are loose as they're a separate piece stitched and layered on top of the rest of the plush. I have seen many Marios with his overalls missing, which obviously is not good, but they're stitched in pretty well, so you'd have to really try to get them off. And his gold buttons on his straps are simple overlays. Mario's shoes are large and have sole details. They even have cardboard inside the shoes to keep them flat, which is always a nice touch. Here's the tag for the set. This is such a classic looking tag. You have the red background, coupled with some really great artwork of Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, Yoshi. Interesting that they'd include him here when he didn't get a plush. And finally, whoa, hold on, is that Link? What's he doing here? Well, as I mentioned earlier, this isn't the Kellytoy Mario plush set, but rather the Kellytoy Nintendo plush set. I've just been referring to it as the Mario line to make things simpler, as for whatever reason, Kellytoy never released a Link, or any character outside of the Mario license. It does make you wonder though, could they have planned to make a Link? They had the license for so long, I wouldn't be shocked if it was at least an idea at one point. Considering how, off-model some of the Kellytoy plushes can look, I wouldn't be surprised if they did actually attempt to make a Link plush, but it ended up looking so horrible, leading to it being completely rejected by Nintendo. Link is a much more complicated character to make in plush form than Mario. For example, take my favorite plushes of Link, the ones from the Ocarina of Time UFO set. Even they take some liberties and go for a more chibi style. Going off of some of Kellytoy's more humanoid plushes, such as the ones from their Dragon Ball Z line, Kellytoy wouldn't have made it in a chibi style, and would have tried to make a Link that's more accurate, but it probably wouldn't have turned out that great, so it makes sense that he wasn't made. Yoshi though, they totally could have made, and who knows what other characters Kellytoy could have planned on making. It's pretty interesting to think about. The idea of cancelled characters to this set seems much more likely when you realize that Kellytoy has a huge collection of cancelled plushes from over the years. For example, for their Sonic line, there are prototypes of Sonic and Tails plushes using the more metallic look used on their Silver and Super Sonic plushes. There's the criminally cancelled Cheese the Chow plush that we haven't even seen in full yet. And of course, there's 2 whole Cartoon Network Kellytoy plush sets for Chowder and Flapjack that seemingly went unproduced. Kellytoy is no stranger to cancelling plushes, so who's to say there aren't any unseen Nintendo ones? Maybe there's a prototype for a Kellytoy Yoshi out there. Maybe a Bowser? Maybe a Fire Mario? This image is of what is said to be an actual Kellytoy prototype of a Fire Mario plush. The story goes that this plush was sold on eBay back in May of 2016. Now, I was never able to find the original listing, or any source of the image outside of where the story was originally posted, and I've never been able to come in contact with the guy who would have purchased it off of eBay or the seller, so I can't fully verify if this is truly a prototype, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be so. Anyway, back to the tag. There's one last thing that I should mention. This tag was actually used on more sets than just the Kellytoy plush set. The tag was also used on both sets made by the companies Gosh, as well as the company Play-by-Play. You may recognize that name as they've, like Kellytoy, made plushes for many licenses such as Sonic, and yes, that is an actual licensed Sonic plush, as well as what's probably their most popular line, Pokemon. These sets could very well get their own video someday, but let me tell you, if you thought the Kellytoy plushes were some of the worst looking Mario plushes ever, you haven't seen the Play-by-Play set. For example, take a good look at their Mario. How about their classic high-quality Donkey Kong? They actually made more characters than Kellytoy. They made a Yoshi. That doesn't look too bad. But what about their Bowser? What about their Funky Kong? Yeah, the Play-by-Play set is stuff of legend, and the Gosh plush set is pretty interesting too, as it seems they based all of their plushes off of Sine's Mario Party 5 set. Now that's something. What's essentially an official ripoff of Sine's plushes that also happens to use the Kellytoy tag. I have no idea why these sets use this tag. I don't know if this tag was a universal Nintendo license tag that Nintendo designed. I always imagined it was made by Kellytoy. Also, the touch tag for the set is pretty basic, but the later releases of the plush do have a red Nintendo logo on it, so I guess that's cool. The original releases are fairly bland though. As for Mario's rarity, he barely even has any. Look, these plushes were available for amusement parks to order from roughly 2001 to 2007. That's over half a decade. And as I've previously mentioned, for, say, an arcade to order stock of them, they would need to have ordered them in bulk. For instance, once again referencing the Kellytoy catalogs, this one says that if you wanted to order stock of, for example, the 7-inch Mario, you would have needed to order a case of 144 of them. And that's just one order for one arcade. And think about this set was very popular, so during the mid-2000s, every arcade was ordering stock of them. Tons of them had to have been produced. Because of this, the plush is very common, and even if it could go for a somewhat high price, the fact is that there's just tons of them out there. Think of it kinda like how fast food toys, under normal circumstances, can never get too rare. For example, if you'd like to buy the Sonic 3 McDonald's toys from 1994, you can still go on eBay and easily buy them. This is because during the promotion, nearly every single McDonald's had them, and since there's tons of McDonald's out there, tons of them were made, meaning they can never get too rare unless they all get destroyed or something. Same thing to a lesser extent applies to these guys. Every arcade in America wanted them in stock, so many were made. So unless some horrible Kellytoy Mario apocalypse happens and they all just blow up, we should be able to get them easily for a long time. To be fair, the black-eyed earlier release of Mario is harder to find, but still, they show up for sale often, and you just need to be patient if you'd like to get one. As there were several sizes that these plushes came in, I can't just say a definitive price per character, so instead, here are some examples of past listings for several sizes of Mario to give you guys an idea of how much he usually goes for. Here's an 18-inch Mario that sold for $11.99, and here's a 9-inch Mario that only went for $10. So the smaller sizes are fairly cheap. I'd say a small Mario usually goes for $10 to $15. However, the larger ones can of course go for much more. Alright, so the Mario, pretty good, but the rest of the set, that's where things get more questionable. Let's start with what I'd call the second best looking plush in the set, Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong as a character is a bit of an odd choice. You'd think they would make Yoshi or Peach or something, but nope, Donkey Kong. I'm not complaining though, this Donkey Kong is a pretty nice plush. The most interesting aspect of DK is without a doubt his fur. Kellytoy went through the trouble of giving him fur that appears to have texture. This is pretty notable as it's something I don't see often on Donkey Kong plushes, as most use a flat brown color for his fur. Donkey Kong's face can either look really good or really bad depending on the plush you get, once again showing Kellytoy's poor quality control with these. His mouth lacks definition, and can be poorly put together showing signs of poor stuffing or being misaligned. The ridge above his eyes is a separate piece and is stuffed. Going off of this stock image, he's supposed to look angry, and while some do look like that, a lot of them don't really pull that off. Donkey Kong's eyes are once again overlays. They look all around smaller than they should be, and are very basic as they're simple tilted white ovals with black dots for pupils. Donkey Kong's hair is basically more just a simple bump than anything that resembles hair. However, I have seen a few that do have the proper curve to it. His tie is pretty good looking, it's nicely wrapped around his head like an actual tie, and has an overlay of the DK symbol, so they thankfully didn't skip that detail. It seems the tie isn't completely stitched to the plush though, as some have lost their ties over the years. Donkey Kong's body is overall well made. His arms and legs seem to be of decent length, and are well stuffed. His chest is detailed, however his hands and feet don't really look that great. His hands look alright. They have the correct finger detail and that's all good, but his feet look pretty bad. They do have the correct detail, but they usually lack stuffing, so they look really flat. Donkey Kong's stance at first looks weird, as most pictures show him standing upright, which is not his usual posture. However, he can lean forward in a way to make him stand like we normally see him, which is pretty cool. As for Donkey Kong's rarity, he's basically the same case as Mario, and since Mario and Donkey Kong were made for around the same amount of time, I'd guess that they were made in pretty similar quantities. As always, the smallest size is the most common, and as they get larger they will of course cost more. But essentially, his rarity is just the same as Mario's. And unlike Mario, he doesn't have any huge release differences or anything, no variants or anything. If you want this plush, you can easily find it. I'd say the small DKs go for around $10, and the larger ones go up from there. Okay, to be honest, I don't even know how to properly introduce the next plush. It's a plush so incredible, it's barely even possible to describe it with words. Kellytoy Wario. There he is. Let's talk about him. So this plush was the first new addition to the Kellytoy Mario lineup after the line launched, and with him, you can start to see why only 4 characters were ever made for this set. Wario's face is... wow. Okay. Wario's eyes are decent. His eyebrows are correctly just above his eyes and are part of his eye detail, but the plush designers also included an extra piece in between Wario's eyes to capture that detail Wario has. But it doesn't really work that well. They should have just put lines there or something. It being a separate large piece looks very strange. Wario's nose looks good, though it is essentially just a pink ball. His mustache is a cut flat piece of felt. It looks okay. Wario's mouth is huge and is the main reason as to why his face looks so weird. It's way too large, and while the inclusion of the teeth detail definitely helps it, it just doesn't pull off the look too well. His mouth just doesn't look right, but hey, his face is shaped around his mouth, so that's something. His hat is correctly smaller than Mario's and has nice detail. His ears are also unique, as they're large and pointed. His hair is also the correct color and all around looks good. Wario's body is decent. The real problems with this plush usually come from his face and head. Everything else is alright. Wario has his yellow shirt and purple overalls, which use the same techniques as Mario's. Here's a cool detail. On his back, Wario's straps are crossed, which is a detail I wouldn't have expected to see on this plush. Wario's arms are completely covered by his sleeves, which is no longer part of Wario's design, as now he's shown to wear short sleeves, making this plush one of the few to feature that design. Wario's gloves are basically the same as Mario's, but now they have the W symbol, which is an overlay. Wario's legs are very short and are pretty thin by Wario standards. They're not nearly as large as they should be. Wario's shoes are a solid green with no sole details, but they are nicely shaped. So you may be wondering, were there any bootlegs of the Kellytoy Mario set? Well, the answer to that would be, thankfully, nope, none. Well, outside of Wario. To be fair, I have seen some pretty suspicious Mario bootlegs that may be based off of Kellytoy plushes, but Wario is the only widespread bootleg of the set. Why bootleggers chose to fake a plush that already looked so weird, I'll never know. Maybe it was the only Wario plush they could get their hands on. The officially released Wario's already looked pretty off, but the bootlegs look even worse. It should be pretty easy to tell if it's fake or not. For instance, I've never seen a bootleg that actually has the Kellytoy tag, so if yours has that tag, it's official. Look, if the listing has a title that says something like Mario Bros. Terrorist Lewis plush, it's probably safe to assume it's not legit. As for Wario's rarity, take a guess. Take a guess at how much Kellytoy Wario is worth. Well, if you guessed $10,000, you'd be incorrect, because he has roughly the same rarity as Mario and Donkey Kong. As for examples of past Wario listings, here's a 12-inch Wario that sold for $8.99, here's one that's going for around $20, and here's one that's $15. So I'd say the smaller Wario can range from around $10 to $15, while again, the larger ones go for more. At this point, you may be wondering, what's even the point of including a rarity section in this video if they're all going to be the same? Well, I wouldn't have included it, if not for the next and final plush we'll be looking at, Kellytoy Luigi. Oh man, I've been waiting for the day I finally get to talk about this guy. This plush's appearance is so weird. I'm not even going to go into the fact that Nintendo approved of this plush and how odd that is. I'm gonna question how he was even designed like this in the first place. You look at the Mario plush and you're like, yeah, that's Nintendo 64 Mario. You can trace his odd appearance back to at least some origin. But this Luigi, how did Kellytoy end up with this? Given how he was the last plush to be released, supposedly around 2003, it would make sense for this plush to be designed off of the Luigi from the GameCube era. However, comparing it to artwork, it just doesn't add up. He's leaning towards it, but he's way too skinny, way too lanky. He just looks so off-model. Another thing with Luigi is that it seems he got hit the worst with quality control. Every single Kellytoy Luigi looks different. There's so many variations of him out there, but they're all supposed to be the same plush, so that's really bad, and shows just how little care Kellytoy put into the manufacturing of these guys. Anyway, let's just get right into it. Luigi's face is interesting, to say the least. His eyes are oddly small, and given the horrible quality control, sometimes they're too far away from each other, and sometimes they're too close. Luigi's nose is huge, at least on the smaller sizes. There's some real nice proportions on this guy. Truly incredible. His mustache is actually accurate. It's only got the two curves, as it should, so it is different than Mario's. So good job there, Kellytoy. His hat and emblem are basically the same as Mario's, though I have seen a lot of Luigi's with damaged emblems. Luigi's body technically looks good. It's the proportions that ruin it. His overalls are just like Mario's, so they're loose. But again, this means that they can fall off if you don't take care of him. His arms and legs are pretty long. I think Kellytoy simply knew that Luigi was taller than Mario, and just extended everything without actually making sure it looked accurate. Luigi's gloves and shoes look the same as Mario's, so they're alright. The thing with this plush is, I can see something here. This could have been a good plush. It's just a few design flaws and the horrendous quality control that ruins it. Some Luigis do look good, but the overwhelming majority of them look so bad. But I guess maybe that makes him appealing. Yeah, believe it or not, this plush is actually really desired by many people. Alright, let's talk about this. Kellytoy Luigi's rarity. Now, for the other plushes in this set, they aren't too hard to find. However, it's not exactly the same with Luigi. See, this plush is highly demanded. Not many people are looking for Kellytoy Donkey Kongs, but tons of people want Kellytoy Luigi. This could be because of a number of reasons. Maybe it's because he's just so weird looking that everyone wants him. His flaws make him appealing. Or maybe it's because he was used in a popular YouTuber's Plush Adventure series back in the day, causing him to become insanely desired by fans of said YouTuber. Maybe that's part of it too. I don't know. But whatever the possible reason could be, I've seen tons of people throw around the idea that Kellytoy Luigi is super rare, uncommon, and hard to find. But when you think about it, this can't be true. I mentioned them earlier, but once again, let's take a look at those Kellytoy catalogs. I'll be specifically looking at the 2006 and 2007 catalogs, both of which, by the way, are dated 2005. These two catalogs have Luigi listed. Again, I must stress this. For one arcade to order the plushes, they would need to have bought multiples of them, even for the larger sizes. Let's take this catalog for example, the one that mentions an 8-inch Luigi. For just one arcade to order one case of that Kellytoy Luigi size, they would need to have ordered 144 of them. 144 Luigis. And for the largest size, the incredible 40-inch Luigi, they would need to have ordered at least 2 of them, which isn't nearly as much, but still. So, the smaller Luigis are very plentiful, while the larger ones are actually pretty hard to find. But here's another thing to consider. As it turns out, the larger plushes aren't in as much demand as the smaller plushes. This makes a lot of sense actually. See, I imagine most of the people going for these guys aren't getting them simply for collection, but rather to play with them. This means that most people are looking for the smaller size plushes. As cool as having a 40-inch Luigi would be, it's not exactly practical. It takes up tons of space and would be hard to play with. However, I guess the two factors balance out. The smaller Luigis have more demand, but the larger Luigis were made in fewer quantities. So in the end, I'd say the smaller Luigi should only run you around $20 to $30 max. Here are some previous Luigi listings to give an idea of how much he's worth. Here's one listing for a 12-inch Luigi that's asking for $36. It's pretty much mint, so I guess that's not too bad. Here's a great listing for a lot containing Kellytoy Wario, Kellytoy Luigi, and a Goomba backpack asking for a steep $13 for it all. And here's a classic eBay listing for Kellytoy Luigi. It was a bid, and it ended at $610. Or did it? Yeah, this Luigi listing, it was relisted just days after that one ended, with the same pictures and everything. That $600 listing wasn't actually paid for. eBay unfortunately doesn't actually show if a listing was paid for or not, so if you go to sold listings, you'll see stuff like this, which only serves to give people a false sense of worth. Luigi has recently actually been selling for stuff like $50, $100, but I would never pay that much for him. This plush wasn't a limited produced item. If you wait until a cheap one shows up, you will be able to get him. In fact, while I was recording the audio for this video, I went onto eBay, I searched Luigi plush, and I bought a mint 12-inch Luigi for just over $10. Just wait and Kellytoy Luigi will come to you. So, what makes this line so special? As I've said, this set has become pretty desired by a lot of people. Why is that? Obviously, it's not because the plushes accurately capture the characters, or that they're, all that great. So what is it about this set that makes it so appealing? Well, to find the answer to that question, we need to consider where these plushes come from. Arcades and carnivals. I'm sure many of us have fond memories of the time you went to a carnival and against all odds, you won whatever plush you were going after. It's a feeling that can't really be replicated anywhere else. Winning something out of a claw machine, scoring at a carnival game, it's an event that really sticks with you. What I'm getting at here is that I think a large appeal to these Kellytoy plushes is nostalgia. They remind people of those memories of going to arcades. I'm sure someone out there looks at Kellytoy Luigi and is reminded of the time they finally beat that carnival game and won the huge Luigi. Perhaps that's why I don't like this set that much. I never saw any of them at arcades. I never won any. I have next to no personal connections with these plushes. Though that doesn't mean I can't experience what it would have been like to find them in arcades. These Kellytoy plushes were released in the age of the internet, where tons of people were able to archive images and videos of them at the arcades. Take this video for instance, titled Winning Mario, uploaded on September 9th, 2007. Yes! It's a pretty great video, you all should go check it out. And this video is just one of the many videos out there showcasing these plushes in their natural habitat. I'm so glad these videos exist because without them, we simply would never be able to see them in arcades ever again. Eventually, all of the stock of these plushes will run out. Someday, they will become rare. We're not at that point yet, but it's inevitable. I don't know, maybe I'm the only person who cares about stuff like this, but think back to the UFO catcher plushes that everyone loves. For example, the Sonic the Fighters plush set. It's one of the most popular and iconic Sonic plush sets of all time, yet we don't have any footage or even images of the set in actual arcades or UFO catchers. Good on everyone who uploaded footage of these Kellytoy plushes. You archived history. Maybe if things were different, if that one time I went to the carnival, it ended with me playing that game and winning one of them, maybe then my views on the plushes would have been more positive and sentimental. While making this video, I went to an arcade, and I won these 3 plushes. I'm not gonna hold this Squidward plush with as much praise as some people do with the Kellytoy plushes, but I'll always remember the time I won it out of a claw machine on my first try. Another potential reason as to why people like this set ironically could be its flaws. All 4 of these guys don't look that accurate. They don't look entirely like the characters they're trying to replicate, but that certainly makes them stand out. Luigi's odd proportions, Wario's expression, Mario's overall weirdness. It's honestly surprising these were even allowed to be made. If these were pitched today, Nintendo definitely would not approve of them. I love when merchandise is unique, and that certainly describes these guys. And that's the Kellytoy Mario set. As for my favorite in the set, I'm not sure. It's pretty hard to pick favorites with this set. Mario's pretty cool because he's unlike any other Mario plush, and is representative of the era he came out in. Donkey Kong's overall pretty good looking. Wario's so bad that he's amazing, and Luigi's such an enigma that you just have to like him. When I started making this video, I didn't like this set that much. But now, after researching them, I've come to appreciate their charm. They just have something to them that's, well, I don't want to say missing from plushes today, but there's just something about them that's so unique. Compare the Kellytoy Mario to the Cine All-Star Collection Mario. I know we're comparing a cheap carnival prize to a store-bought plush, which I normally wouldn't do, but I have a point here. Objectively, the Cine Mario is the far superior plush. However, nothing really grabs me about it. Outside of, wow, that sure is a 1-to-1 accurate Mario plush, it's just not that interesting. But then you look at the Kellytoy Mario. Is it poorly made? Yes. Does it look questionable? Absolutely. But that makes it interesting. Wow, how did that get past Nintendo? I can't believe this was made. Don't get me wrong, super accurate plushes have their place and they're great, but they don't have the same charm as more out there merchandise does. And I think that's a huge contributor behind this set's popularity. Even comparing them to the more recent arcade plushes by the company Good Stuff, it's just the characters, and yes, that's fantastic, but the Kellytoy set really stands out. Are these plushes worth searching out for, or paying high prices for? In my opinion, no. But if you can get one for they're a good price and you like them, I'd say go for it. What this set lacks in monetary value, it makes up for in sentimental value. The memories people have with these plushes are their true worth. They're a reminder of a long-gone era of Mario merchandise, back before everything needed to look as accurate as possible. And for that, they're commemorable.